Welcome to 3 by Web3 with Stuart Chan and myself, Paul Phillips.
3 by Web3 is about giving today's marketing leaders an insight on different ways to play in the Web3 space. We'll tackle a key area, a different one each week. We'll discuss 3 examples of each, and we'll start today with a broad one, brand experiences, but we do have other things in the pipeline such as loyalty, customer experience, intellectual property, events, and more.
Yeah, and so when we came up with this, this is very much for marketers and CMOs, anyone interested in Web3 or digital marketing quite broadly. I think Stuart and I have spent a lot of time discussing Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, and I think anyone in marketing right now is talking a lot about this too. And we're taking a super broad definition here in terms of it's really about the evolution of the internet that we're seeing today. And some of the cultural things we see out of that is really about participation, transparency, and ownership. These are the new cultural trends that are happening around the internet and really making it cool again. And really that is about Web3. So pretty much any marketer or CMO or anyone interested in the space should be find this relevant and interesting.
Yeah, I think so, definitely, Paul. So before we dive in, I think we need to say a big thank you to some of our sponsors that could help us make this happen.
Yeah, we're at UNSENSIBLE Studios today. Thank you, everyone, for the space.
Right, and a special thank you to Carbon Brews for these delicious beverages. Carbon Brews is a Hong Kong craft brewery that's breaking boundaries, and they're trying to make beer drinking more fun for everybody in the local market. So with that, Paul, as I'm sipping on this delicious beer, I think there's another drink that I really like, which is coffee. So why don't we dive right in to our first case?
Cool.
Which is
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
So let's have a look at Starbucks, right?
All right. So Starbucks, really it's about the Starbucks Odyssey program, which is, I guess, their way of playing in Web3. And it's fundamentally a brand experience within the loyalty ecosystem, right? And they want to deepen the sense of engagement that they have with existing customers, create better advocacy with them. And they're doing this by tapping into this Web3 space.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. I think that their key insight was we have this massive loyalty program. Pretty much everyone or a large number of people are members of the Starbucks loyalty program. They're almost like a de facto bank. The amount of transactions and money and people engaged on that platform.
Right. Sort of like the Starbucks index, right, where they evaluate wealth parity across regions by the price of a tall latte in the market.
Yeah, exactly. They are huge, right? And I think for them, they can see there's a massive shift going on the internet, and that they're using Web3 to become more culturally relevant. So their insight is really that they have a section of their loyalty base that is going, we want deeper brand experience. And I think that's a lot of the tension that we get from the Web 2 world to the Web 3 world, is people want avenues for deeper brand experiences and engagement. And I think this one for me is really about if we think about the cultural tenets of Web3, it's really about participation.
Right, but is it really Web3, I guess would be the question, right? We talked about this before. I kind of feel like it's like Web 2.8 or less. Right?
Yeah.
I think they could have accomplished the same thing by not really going full Web3, or is it even considered fully Web3? I don't know.
Well, let's talk to guys through the piece first. So it is, what it really is about, it's gamification of brand elements for Starbucks. And everyone who plays one of these games and gets to engage in the brand gets a journey stamp. And the journey stamp you can then sell on a secondary audience, so it's secondary marketplace. And what's kind of interesting about that is they've avoided the words NFT or token, right? Or play to earn, right?
Yeah.
And they've also not integrated it into their payment system or point system yet. So yeah, this looks like a brand experience and very much an MVP for me too, which would suggest maybe there's more coming that would based on the success. But I do think the trend that we're seeing around the fact that they aren't calling these Web3, or they're not calling it tokens or any of these specific terms, helps broaden it to a wider audience that are interested in these cultural movements.
I think they're doing that. It's definitely done on purpose, right? To avoid what that term is, the NFT, because they don't want to scare away the existing audience.
Yeah.
But then in that case, it's starting to fail to fully differentiate itself, right? It's kind of feeling more just like another layer on top of the loyalty program itself. And then also with not integrating, like you said, into their existing pay system and those platforms and having a standalone system on its own, it starts to feel a bit fragmented, right?
Yeah.
And that is giving me the feeling that it's a bit of a like learn as you go type of initiative, which I'm for. Right?
Well, that's super interesting because I think if we think about loyalty programs, you look at a list of things that loyalty programs can do with Web 2.0 and a list of things that you can do with in loyalty programs with Web 3. There's not a huge amount of difference between the two of them. It's just the cultural sense and the ownership and transparency and the deeper, and you can go slightly further with Web 3 than you can with Web 2. And I think this is really what they're trying to figure out how they can go a bit further in their loyalty program and get that extra engagement.
Right, exactly. Well, so yeah, they're trying to figure it out, I guess, is
Yeah.
where we're concluding, right? Is that they're experimenting, right? And experimentation is great. I think experimentation is particularly great when you have like a solid objective behind it, and of course, a budget that you're willing to put in.
Yeah.
Consider it as an investment, right? Because a lot of Web3 projects, they may or may not pan out, so you kind of have to have that, right? We both know that Starbucks has that as well.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see, where the next step or the next evolution of this is going to go.
Yeah.
I think that the sky's the limit for them, but if they choose the right path, it could really be successful.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there's been a lot of anticipation around this work from both their audiences, but also from the marketing and Web3 communities as well. So we'll watch that. Another one that's had a lot of talk in the Web3 community is a brand that doesn't really ever get talked about in the Web3 community until they did this, which is Tiffany's, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look at the Tiffany's one then. Tiffany's, yeah, you're right. There wasn't a lot of, I guess.
No one thinks Web3 and they think Tiffany's, right? No one thinks degens and or gamers and Tiffany's straight away, do they?
Well, they were thinking, oh no, here comes Tiffany's again, right?
Yeah.
But really, I guess if we're looking at this campaign, the insight that Tiffany's customers keep getting older and older, and they really wanted to, I guess, take a crack at tapping into a new audience and get away from this whole being your mother's brand of jewelry, essentially. And so I think that this whole NFTiff execution was quite interesting, right? So what they did was they released a collection of 250 NFTs. They were all valued at the low price of 30 Ethereum each. I don't know what that is off the top of my head today, but in
45,000,
30, yeah, about 45,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So raising
US dollars.
What was it? They raised like a net of like 12 million US dollars in total. And that was pretty good because they actually only targeted 10,000 consumers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was an exclusive kind of promotion for the CryptoPunk community, of which there are only 10,000. And they did that. They sold out in 30 minutes. That part of it was quite impressive. And of course, they got all the PR to boot.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is very much about, again, what brand positioning, right? Repositioning an older brand as doing a stunt and an execution and repositioning them as core. And I think Tiffany's probably lost customers with this, but they also probably gained more customers that were younger and more influential to them. And perhaps most importantly for the brand manager, they're going, well, okay, so I've got a brand where my customers are literally dying on me. Right? Shouldn't laugh about this, should we? To a brand that now is
No, but you're right. You're right. I guess to put it aptly, they lost the customers they wanted to lose, right? And they gained the customers they wanted to gain. And kind of hoping that is going to be something that they carry forward.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I haven't seen or heard anything coming from their camp right now about a follow-up to this.
Yeah. Well, I think for marketers, we may not see something that's squarely in the Web3 space, and I think that's fine. But I think what we will see next from Tiffany's is more we may hopefully see something more in the existing Web3 community space, but I think we'll see something that's culturally aligned with that space, whether that be about getting greater participation or alignment or engagement, participation, transparency, or ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the things that we'll see come through. I did notice before they did this campaign, they did a guerrilla street poster campaign in LA, which is really, and they also started messing with the Tiffany's blue, which they haven't done for like forever, right? So yeah, I think we'll see something.
Yeah, well, if they do, I hope they kind of stick to their guns on this one, their ethos, because I really liked what they did, which wasn't try to take NFTs and Web3 and shove it down the throats of their existing consumers.
Yeah.
What they really tried to do is take this bottom-up approach where they brought what they have, which is beautiful products that are actually applicable for any target audience, and they took that and they pushed it through to a younger consumer through a specific community, right? So
Yeah.
the bottom-up approach, I think was very clever. And if they stick to this level of thinking and they continue to do things in the Web3 space, they may see a lot of success.
And I think for all the marketers listening or watching, I think this is a big one in terms of everyone looks at, goes, oh, here's my existing campaign that I had planned for the quarter or what I'm going to be looking at, or this is where we can fit this in. Let's add a Web3 execution to our current marketing, right? And I think this campaign shows you that that may not be the best idea, and you can really achieve results by doing something small and contained that actually serves to a niche audience within the Web3 community space, rather than trying to take your existing products and services or existing marketing and try to target someone who doesn't know anything about Web3 suddenly with Web3 infrastructure and language.
Exactly.
It's going to turn them off.
How
right?
do you get a wallet? How do you buy this thing, right? It doesn't necessarily work. So
And I think that is because where we are, we're in this new technology space, right? We're at a lot of the language and terms right now in the infrastructure, the fact you need to download a wallet and then never forget your password. So it means everyone writes it down on a piece of paper. Right? Like, there's no one you can call. That doesn't work for a lot of brands. Like, we're in this early adopter phase, right? Which is why Starbucks didn't call it NFTs and wallets, things like that, because we're in this early adopter phase, and so we don't want to alienate our wider group as well. But so I think if we take a look at Starbucks has mainstreamed or made a larger audience, the NFT infrastructure and culture to a larger audience. And what Tiffany's done is really the opposite. And they've gone, hey, we're just going to focus on a niche community and use all the terms and technology and the culture that they love, right?
Absolutely. I think to your point earlier as well, just taking a crack at Web3, I think it warrants its own strategy, right? It warrants at least its own objectives, its own level of thinking, and probably just to segment it out on its own, so that you can give yourself a chance for success.
Well, that's a great one, because otherwise we're going to get watered down Web 2, right? And we're going to get, which might be a great segue into our third piece of work, right? Around not that I would that I think that this is I think this is a great segue, because this piece to me really reminds me of salience. I see this everywhere all over Hong Kong, and I go, wow, this brand looks like it's really now, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, at the agency, we do get a lot of requests, and I think a lot of the clients are not really shy about saying it. They're just saying, we need to do, like back when metaverse hype was prevalent, right? We need to do something with the metaverse. We need to do something with Web3. And I'm like, okay, what's your objective? They're like, to get PR headlines because it's hot right now. So we're like, okay, well, we have that conversation. I feel like what you're alluring to here with this case for HSBC is this Duoverse idea that they have, right? So really about positioning themselves.
So Duoverse is like, it sounds like they're wanting to call it phygital, but they don't want to use that terrible word. Right?
Phygital.
Is Duoverse the new phygital? Should we be calling things Duoverse rather than phygital? Maybe you can tell everyone what phygital is.
I'm not a huge fan of phygital. The first time I heard the word was it was NFTLA. So earlier this year, I was out there consulting on a blockchain project, and somebody said phygital to me. And I rolled my eyes then, and I generally roll my eyes now. It's a little bit of a cringe word for me, because I feel like there's probably a better word out there, but we'll just use it for now, I guess, right? Physical means digital, phygital. Right? So there you have it. So I guess, you were saying about HSBC, this Duoverse thing crosses phygital. Why? Because really it's a concert that they put on. HSBC is putting on in the metaverse, but also outside of the metaverse, with two of Hong Kong's bigger celebrities who also happen to be, I believe, virtual celebrities as well with their avatars. And this is going to be broadcast all over the world on February 12th. So far, they've gotten quite a bit of PR for their efforts, and that's pretty much where it ends for me.
Well, I think that this is really the insight here. Is I go, well, there's the overarching insight for HSBC is, hey, we've got a market in Hong Kong where there is a portion of that market that is highly affluent, high net worth that we want to go after, and we want to be positioned as relevant with them, and that we're on top of trends. There's also this digital or physical digital trend, right? Where they want to be seen as, when you think about bricks and mortar in Hong Kong, you think about HSBC, right? Because they're on every street corner, right? And I think they want to augment their experience also with this digital piece as well, which is what that high net worth segment also wants as well. So I think there's a couple of different observations and why they've kind of gone in this direction. I see billboards and posters, and I see ads everywhere, and I get pushed a lot of this information about this, and I think it's an interesting integration with the mobile app, but it'll be interesting to see how far they push that, and is HSBC committed to creating both physical and digital environments, or it looks very metaverse, to be honest, for their customer experiences and with their marketing.
Yeah, I think I guess from my sense, HSBC does have some sort of a broader idea or strategy that they want to go into this with, and some sort of idea of what they want to do. It's just kind of rough right now. And of course, they, just like many other brands, are experimenting in the space. But I think the one difference is that they feel like, because I have worked with them before, they feel like the kind of brand that toes the whole Ricky Bobby sentiment, which is like, if you're not first, you're last, right?
Yeah.
But then with this whole Web3 thing, not a lot of brands want to be first, and none of them want to be last either, right? So it's sort of this balancing act right now that they're trying to toe. I think as we move broadly towards what more we're going to see from HSBC, which I believe there will be more coming, we may see a little bit more that goes beyond the whole PR headline stunt kind of thing and actually has some more applications to it, right? I think we were talking about a loyalty program from Starbucks that's not integrated. I wonder if we'll ever see something like digital currencies on like the PayMe app, for example.
Yeah.
So that could be an area that we may go into.
Yeah, and I think they're experimenting, and because they have to experiment in this space, right? And I think it's because there's such a large cultural movement behind the internet. People are disenfranchised a little bit with Web 2. They're moving into Web 3. And they're spending they're spending times with digital channels on the internet in different types of ways, right? And the advocacy that we're seeing in Web3 is so strong that marketers can't ignore it, right? So I can see why they're experimenting in this space, and I think that's actually a good way to play right now, because we are seeing this adoption curve that's changing. We're seeing infrastructure that's difficult and not quite ready for major brands to play with just yet, right? Or difficult to integrate. So experimentation is a way to be part of the conversation, be relevant, benefit from some of this as well, right?
Right, true. But I think pretty much all the brands out there are experimenting, right? So we've covered a lot today. Beyond the experimentation, really what are the three ways that we've identified to play then?
So we've got Starbucks, and Starbucks is really about creating a deeper brand experience with a segment of that loyalty community, right?
Right. And then we talked about Tiffany's, who is actually trying to reposition themselves by retargeting a different audience segment, and then raising the profile among that audience segment for themselves, right?
And we've got HSBC, which is really about becoming a bit more salient, a bit more now and relevant, and tuning into some of these insights and starting to build a larger strategic program, which we all hope for.
But in the meantime, grabbing all the PR headlines that they can, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that covers.
That's us. Yeah.
Maybe we don't want to drag it on too long, right?
Yeah. We should finish our beers offline.
Right. We don't want to hit your third sip, and then we're going to get all messy on.
But this is our first podcast.
Yep.
So thank you again to the guys at UNSENSIBLE, Carbon Brews as well, right?
That's right. At Carbon Brews, UNSENSIBLE, and hopefully anybody else that wants to come on the show and have a chat, or anything that any of you want us to cover, do let us know. Are you going to say it, or am I going to say it?
Yeah, you've got to do. Oh, you've got to say smash the like.
Do you want to?
You said it.
Right. Smash that like button wherever it is on whatever platform that you have, right? And hopefully we'll see you at the next one.
Cool. Thanks, guys.